Here now to give some law enforcement perspective with his extensive experience with several agencies across Memphis and the Shelby County area is Bennie Cobb. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect. All right, so first off, I do want to talk about just your takeaways from what you've seen over the first 2 days of this state trial. What are your just kind of wrap up takeaways?
Well, it appears to me that the prosecution and the defense, they're ready. The first thing that I noticed from the prosecution side, they brought in the mother of Tyre Nichols, which was very, very smart. She was able to relay her experience as a mother, as somebody that's grieving, to somebody that didn't know who's a jury from from another jurisdiction. Very, very important that they see the human side of what's going on. Most of this testimony is going to be based on video and from the officers that were involved. However, her testimony was riveting. It was well spoken. It was well thought out, and she displayed her emotions of losing a son. These people who had never been to Memphis, who probably had not seen this video, who didn't know these videos, who did not know what was going on, had an opportunity to put a real live person who was the mother, and they felt her pain. On the other hand, the defense played it smart. They did not challenge her. They did not question her. They let her testimony and her statement stand for itself.
Most definitely. And now one testimony today that's going to be very key in this whole trial was Desmond Mills, a former Scorpion unit officer who took a plea deal, now testifying in this trial against his former colleagues. How much do you think that weight carries for the individual cases of each officer?
Desmond Mills is self-preservation right now. He's trying to get as much of his time cut as he possibly can. However, his testimony is going to be very important because it's going to be an eyewitness account as to what the video is actually going to show. I read some of the testimony, I saw some of it. He was very adamant that certain officers did certain things and others did not. The defense attacked his credibility, accusing him of changing his story from what he told Internal Affairs to what he told the federal investigators.
Most definitely. And as we talk about the defense, right, the argument that they had with opening arguments was that officers were acting on their training. So you know training all too well. So what we're seeing in the videos and what we're hearing in the testimonies, is that following standard training?
The training that law enforcement go through is extensive. One of the things that was not used or not even introduced into this incident was a gun. So they utilized their less than lethal tools, the pepper spray, the baton. Now, the training was sufficient that they have and that they have gone through. Weeks and weeks of training on pepper spray, baton, handcuffs, and less than lethal. Training was excellent. However, it was abused. The training, the force was excessive. Those tools were not meant, and the training was not meant to be excessive, abusive, and to where you beat a young man to death.
Wow. And one last question. So if the DOJ's findings was that the Memphis Police Department had patterns and practices of misconduct and infringing on people's civil rights, how does that play into the defense saying that they were following training? Well,
of course, the defense should say that. The DOJ not only, this is not findings from the DOJ investigation, these findings were brought about by some of the officers that's inside the Memphis Police Department that recognized that there was a problem, and they told the DOJ about the problem, and it was an accumulation of those instances that made the DOJ come to this conclusion.
Wonderful. Okay. That is a very interesting insight. Thank you, Bennie Cobb. You're always so great. Such a familiar friend to the show.
Yes, absolutely.